What's up, guys? Matt Barn here for lineups.com, and let's talk a little Survivor here, week number 4. Congrats on making it this far. Congrats on not putting all your eggs in the basket of the Packers or the Falcons this past week, which were the first big eliminations in any of the big Survivor pools out there. So if you were able to survive that, good on you. And here we are in week number 4, which is pretty cut and dry. You can see this article over here on Lineups by Noops. If you want to, go ahead and take a look at that. We'll scroll down here in just a second. We'll look at the lines for the week, and then we'll talk some strategy. If you haven't done so already, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Keeps everything we do absolutely free. So thanks for the support there on that one. So we'll come down, scroll down as we always do. You can see the Texans are 7-point favorites at home here in week number 4. You can see the Bills 16-point favorites in week number 4. You got the Lions out to 9.5-point favorites in week number 4. Patriots are 5.5, which is at least somewhat interesting for some of those people that have a ton of entries out there. Maybe a team that would be in consideration for a portion of those entries. Chargers are on the road as 6.5-point favorites against the Giants. Of course, the Giants are making that change to Jackson Dart this week at the quarterback position. Scroll down a little bit further. Packers 7-point favorites on the road at the Cowboys. And then we come down to the Broncos as 7.5-point favorites against the Bengals here. And pretty interesting decision this week. And the decision is do you burn the Bills this week or next week? And so the Bills are one of those teams that, listen, they're kind of like a wild card, right? Like, you were going to love rolling out the Bills any chance you get. And so Noops, you can kind of lays it out here with these teams. We'll talk some strategy here with the Bills, because if you look at next week, they have a really, really good opportunity to get a win at home against New England. And week number 5, just in general, is one of those where you look and you say, well, Baltimore has Houston, but Houston isn't like completely dead. It's not like they are devoid of talent. It's just like that offense can't get anything figured out right now. Offensive line is pretty bad. Detroit's on the road at Cincinnati. You would like that, but they're on the road at Cincinnati. And if you're in Circa and you're watching this, which is the situation that I'm in, by the way, 10 entries turned into 6. Thanks, Falcons. Appreciate that. You can't use Detroit, or at least you shouldn't be using Detroit, because Detroit is one of the wild card teams that plays on both Thanksgiving and Christmas weeks, which are their own weeks over in the Circa contest. So you have to hold on to Detroit. So Detroit's not even an option this week or next week in this contest. So then it comes down to maybe Arizona against Tennessee next week, but do you really love making that click? So Buffalo makes a ton of sense against New England at home. So that brings us back to week number 4, which is they also make a ton of sense at home against New Orleans. Do you want to burn them this week and say, hey, listen, I'm just here to survive, advance, I'll make the decision next week? Or are you looking ahead to week number 5? Me personally, like I said, I'm trying to play to win, which is why I rolled those Falcons ones out there. I didn't see an opportunity to play the Falcons again the rest of the year, so I was going to try to play them against Carolina, no-showed, and so now I'm down 4 entries over there in the contest. But I'm playing to win, so I'm holding on to Buffalo. I'm going to play Buffalo next week. Might come back to bite me again, but I think the strongest position you can have is to have Buffalo next week as opposed to this week. Detroit is the clear option if you are not in one of the pools that uses the holiday weeks. Detroit against Cleveland this week, I think, is your clear kind of backup to Buffalo. If you don't want to use Buffalo and you want to save them for next week, I think that there is at least some merit to Denver against Cincinnati. I know that is very scary because of the way the Denver offense has looked. I will also say that Cincinnati offense has not looked good either since they've gone to Jake Browning. He has the propensity to give the ball to the other team, and at least the Denver defense is still good. So they are in play as well. And then Houston at home against Tennessee. And that's going to be a click and pray, because you know how this has worked with Houston so far. Defense is good. Offense can't do jack. But Tennessee, rookie quarterback, still only week number 4, and they have not produced on a regular basis either. I think those are your only real options this week. Green Bay on the road, you don't really want to do that. Certainly not against a team like Dallas that even without CeeDee Lamb, I mean, they still got Pickens. Dak is going to huck it up a million times. Tolbert's out there. Jake Ferguson. They can score points. They can move the ball. And I just don't want to run into them when they actually happen to decide to play defense for one game, even though that defense has been atrocious so far. And then the Chargers on the road at the Giants. I think Jackson Dart's a better option for the Giants than Russell Wilson. So I don't know. I don't know what the Giants are going to look like with Jackson Dart. They still have Malik Neighbors, by the way. They still have some good talent on that team. So I don't want to play the Chargers on the road up in I don't want to do that either. So here we are, and I think the decision that a lot of people are going to make is, do I play, again, if you're not in Circa, do I play Detroit? Do I feel comfortable with Denver? Do I feel comfortable with Houston? Or do I go really off the reservation and take New England against Carolina? And I know Carolina's coming off of a big win. Carolina was also at home in that win, and Michael Penix played about the worst quarterback you could ever play in a game. I mean, seriously, he was atrocious. And so I think that those are going to be the decisions that need to be made. So if we look over here, you can see the different ones that Noops lays out. Of course, his power ranking is going to be number one is Buffalo Bills. I mean, it is, they are the best option this week without a doubt. I mean, hell, they're 16-point favorites, as we just talked about, and they're at home against New Orleans. I think, though, you do need to look forward to what you're going to do in week number 5, because week number 5 is not easy if you don't have Buffalo. Week number 5 is really tricky if you don't have Buffalo. Denver and Houston are the backup that we just talked about, the backup plans. And then again, do you really, really, really want to take a chance and play New England at home against Carolina? Is Carolina really going to replicate what you saw this past week? Or more likely, is Drake May going to do what Michael Penix did this past week? And the answer to me is no. So I think those are your real options this week. And that, again, if you do that, leaves you Buffalo for next week. Now, if you're not in Circa, I think Detroit is a real option for you. The only thing about Detroit, ton of future value with them. They do play the Giants at home in week number 12. We don't know what Dallas is going to look like the rest of this season. So, obviously that defense has been terrible. They get them at home in week number 14. They get Pittsburgh, that hasn't looked very good, at home in week number 16. So there are options for Detroit. There's also Detroit again on next week at Cincinnati. I know you don't want to really play them on the road, but I mean, it's a good option against Cincinnati. They're going to be big favorites in that game. So Detroit, the real option for me if I'm not in Circa. If I am in Circa, I'm bypassing Buffalo, saving them for next week, bypassing Detroit, keeping them for the holiday weeks. And then the real consideration becomes Denver, Houston, and New England. I think I'm going to hold my nose and play Houston, thinking that they cannot be this bad on offense. I mean, it has just been so incredibly terrible. And at least with Tennessee, they don't have a bunch of superstars. The problem with Cincinnati, you still have Chase, you still have Higgins, you still have Chase Brown. Like, would it shock you if Browning didn't throw the 3 picks in this game and Chase goes for 110 and Higgins goes for 80 and next thing you know, you look up and this Denver team is down double digits? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So I think it's a hold the nose, play Houston. If you have multiple entries, you want to split them up, I think you could split it between that and New England. I'm probably, of the 6 that I have left, going to go 4-2. Houston to New England. And that seems to be the way that I want to play it. Again, I'm trying to play to get to the end of this thing. And we had a lot of people make it through the first 2 weeks. And then it wasn't, the top teams all really made it in week number 3 as well. Now we did have a couple of big casualties in the Packers and the Falcons, but those were the 4th and 5th picks of the week. So I'm looking to win. I'm going to play the Texans, probably split it up between a couple with New England, and hopefully make it through so that I can use Buffalo next week. Guys, read Noop's article and all his reasoning for what he's going to do with Survivor. I do think, though, that you need to consider what pool you're in. You need to consider, does your pool have the holiday weeks? What's the size of this thing? And then also just remember, what is your risk tolerance? Does this mean a ton to you to just make it each and every week? Or are you really going for the gusto and you're going to try to win this thing and take this thing down? And so, in my opinion, having more good teams further down the line gets you there, and that's how that happens. So good luck on everything, guys. If you haven't done so far, please hit that subscribe button. Do appreciate that. Let me know in the comment section how you are going to play Survivor this week, and good luck on all your Survivor picks.